It was supposed to be a routine night for Brian Cobell, a biotech CEO from South Carolina.
The gentleman said, no pets. I said, she's not a pet, she's a service animal, just to clarify. He said, no pets. I said, look, she's a service animal, so it doesn't really fall under that again.
Someone just punched someone and fell on the ground and his head is bleeding from the back. We need someone immediately.
You know, getting beat up and punched out by an illegal migrant in front of your girl is crazy.
Well, hello, venters. Why don't you guys put on your shoes and we'll take a walk together? Yeah, I like that idea. Make sure you hit subscribe if you're new, and make sure you hit the thumbs up if you've been here before. Guys, today's story takes place in Charleston, South Carolina. Big tech CEO, a guy's name is Brian Cobell. Check this out. In this video, you'll see that he's carrying a dog in his hands. He's claiming this dog is a service dog. I don't know if we can verify that or not, but he's getting a ride from this 42-year-old Russian national who happens to be working for Uber. And this guy's name is Vadim Ulyamdishev. And Ulyamdishev, if you notice, he headbutts him, and Mr. Cobell immediately gets a right cross to the chin, and he's down for the count right there in front of his girlfriend. And now you can see the service dog kind of running around. The Russian national gets back in his vehicle and takes off. And check this out. 2 minutes later...
Yeah, in fact, he picks up an Uber ride about 2 minutes later after leaving me for death.
Is that crazy or what? So check this out. It gets even crazier. Mr. Cobell goes and, takes care of himself at the hospital. And by the time he reaches out to Uber, they have suspended his account.
And then I understand after this happened, Uber suspended your account while the driver was allowed to keep driving, even though you provided hospital records showing what happened.
So here's my question to you guys. Every single day, we're hearing about these illegals doing these things to citizens of the United States. And I don't know, for me, it seems like it's a little much. Now, the good news is this guy is in ICE custody now, and they're looking to deport him. He's been charged with second-degree assault and battery. His name, once again, is Vadim Ulyamdishev. He's a Russian national. He illegally crossed into the country back in December 4th of 2022. In case you're wondering how he came in, he didn't come in through New York or Staten Island. He illegally crossed into California. He was released into the U.S. by the Biden administration. Later, he was arrested for second-degree assault and battery. He was later released on a $10,000 bond. And once again, he was able to keep working with Uber, and he actually picked up a customer 2 minutes later. Could you imagine that customer? Probably wondering, why does this guy look all pumped up and upset? Well, now that customer is probably realizing, holy crap, that's the Uber driver that gave me a ride. I've taken Uber probably about a dozen times in my life. I have yet to have a bad scenario. I did have a bad experience. I did have one time where it was like 100 degrees. And this guy picked me up at like 8:30 in the morning because I was going to, I wasn't feeling my best, and I was going to like an urgent care really early in the morning on a Saturday, and I wanted to be driven there. And he picked me up, and his game plan was to keep the windows rolled down, and I was like, no, au contraire, mon frère. You need to put that air conditioning on. Have any of you ever had that where you go into some guy's car and it's like, look, I don't want to smell your car. Put the air conditioning on. Whenever it's hot, you notice like, oh, it's kind of stuffy in here. One of the things that a lot of the people in the comments were kind of bringing up is that I guess the difference between white people and black people. I thought this was funny, but it's kind of true. white people don't quite have a good gauge on when shit's about to hit the fan. You get a Russian national, he probably didn't speak the best English. He looks a little intimidating, right? He's walking right into your face. He tells you no dogs. You say, wait a minute, this is a service dog. I don't care if you want this dog coming or not. You work for Uber. I'm going to put this dog in the car. And all of a sudden, the guy gets so close to him, headbutts him and punches him in the blink of an eye. And the guy literally folded like a deck of cards. Is that even a saying? He folded. What folds? He folded like a deck chair. Holy shit. I don't even know what folds. So, black people would recommend that you have to observe your own 3 to 5 foot rule, right? If you have a 3 foot rule of space and somebody's invading that, he should not be headbutting you. You should be headbutting him, right? You take the crown of your head, this part up here, not this part, and you aim for his soft parts. That's what I was always told, at least. I've never had to headbutt anybody, but believe you me, if a guy gets that close to me, he's gonna get a headbutt and then probably a leg kick and then a left cross or something or another like that. But I totally agree with the black thought on this. Somebody invades your space, just assume that they're not reasonable. Anton Daniels, whose show this was, brought up the idea that white people don't have any pride. They don't think about defending themselves.
White people don't care. They don't care about pride. They don't care about winning the fight. A lot of these people, they don't care about nothing. You know what they care about? That payout. That payout.
Anton, it's not that. It's just white people live in a society and a way of thinking that they're not expecting people to just hit them out of the blue. That's another thing you get when you get illegal immigrants. You know, when they show Russian TV, they don't show two guys getting drunk, punching each other while everybody laughs and goes on with their day, right? That's what happens in these other countries. I think a lot of times white Americans think that the bad guy is willing to talk and negotiate. Man, my thinking is if somebody gets within 3 feet of you, you got to explode on those MFers. And I would say the same thing to a woman. If a guy gets close to you, just assume your punk ass is gonna wake up in the hospital. Get used to being hostile very quickly. Now you might say, Jesse, you don't really look like the hostile type. I'm just saying, have a game plan. If your game plan is to try to negotiate with the bad guy, you're gonna wake up in the hospital. You've got a better game plan to either run or fight, but you gotta leave talking out of it. Talking never works. So again, I agree with the black way of thinking. Don't let any MFer get close to you, because in other countries, they don't talk their way out of troubles. They fight. I think that's the problem. You know, I watched a show back in high school. They had us, remember they would cart out a VCR and a TV and we would be like, oh my God, it's a movie day today. We watched Malcolm X. And one of the things Malcolm X said in the movie.
But I do believe that the black man in the United States and any human being, anywhere, is well within his right to do whatever is necessary by any means necessary to protect his life and property, especially in a country where the federal government itself has proven that it is either unable or unwilling to protect the lives and property of those human beings.
Wrestling, martial arts, judo, boxing. I think every person should learn how to shoot and hold and carry a firearm. And I think that that's the new way of the future. You want to do something good for your kids? Don't buy them a Nintendo. Don't buy them a cell phone. Get them into boxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Teach them how to fight. That's embarrassing. This guy got knocked out in front of his woman. His service dog got treated like a princess. And that's another thing that bothers me. You know how many Tom, Dick, and Harrys I see carrying around just any Joe Schmo dog and they just take it into stores? Are those really service dogs, or is that just bullshit? Does everybody really have emotional problems where you need to be bringing dogs everywhere? Should he have allowed the dog? Sure. But my goodness, you got to remember, not everybody is just like, oh yes, you should do what the establishment and the government says. If a person doesn't want a damn dog in their car, I don't think we should force them to take dogs under the guise if it's a service dog. I'm not saying it's not, but you know, there is a chance the guy is lying. Skylar Pixel says, I never understood why people let other people get so close to them. I never understood why when people are getting their ass kicked, their defense is to put their arm up. It's like, start swinging. Am I the only guy that was always told, go down swinging in life? If you're gonna wake up in the hospital anyway, get some licks in. Does anybody agree with me? I hate when they show people defending themselves by just putting their face in there and getting knocked out. You gotta remember, it is your job to get home to your family. And getting home to your family should not include getting a concussion and getting brain damage because you're afraid to swing. You need to swing. I think that's the old problem with telling people, you know, the old fight or flight response. What you need to do when people attack you is you need to say, thank God this MFer isn't a bear. I'm gonna fight back. Isn't that crazy? If a black bear attacks us, everyone says, fight that bear. But if it's a bad guy, all we do is walk up and let him knock us out. Absolutely blows me away. Blows me away. But you want to know something? There are a lot of people that feel the same way I do. That if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down swinging. And we need more people like that because that's what makes people think twice about attacking people. I think that Russian dude is a tough son of a bitch. You want to know something? Have you guys ever watched UFC? Those people from Russia are tough. And you know why? Because instead of growing up playing video games and listening to their mommies like we do in this country, they're out wrestling bears. You ever seen those videos? They actually have Russian fighters that grow up wrestling bears. And they come to this country and they just must think we are all soft and weak. Holy shit. I get really disappointed in people. It's like you go into areas that are tough, hardened areas. You're dealing with tough, hardened people. Every now and then you have to put the Girl Scout cookies away and you have to defend yourself and fight. Silverback 31 says, so that CEO is getting a huge payout under the Americans with Disabilities Act. No Uber driver cannot refuse service if it's a service animal. And yes, I agree with you. You're supposed to allow service animals on. But my God, I remember there was a time when the service animal led a blind guy into a place, right? Or maybe a veteran that really had bad PTSD, you let him keep his little lap dog with him. This guy looks like a typical metrosexual holding his dog. Are we even 100% sure that is a service dog? My goodness. And why does everybody need a service dog? I could see if you were a veteran of a foreign war. Just because you have a problem, you know, focusing. And by the way, does he really have a problem with anything? He managed to be a CEO of some sort of software company. You know, you think that's easy? Do you think he has his dog at every meeting? I doubt it. Jesse, you don't sound like you're very good with Americans with disabilities. I actually am. I recruit special ed teachers, but I think a lot of us lie in this country. And I think when it comes to service animals, I go into Target all the time. I'm sure you guys do too. I see people that go in there with Great Danes and Doberman Pinschers and, you know, the poodle and a cat and a parrot. It's like, those aren't service animals. That's you just seeking attention right? Everybody comes up to them, oh, can I pet your puppy? Yeah, sure, go ahead. Oh my God, you don't seem psychologically traumatized. By the way, if you do need a service pet, I'm just kind of venting. I don't really care about that. I actually care about the guy that did get knocked out. I actually wish we didn't have all these illegal immigrants, but you know what? Because no one's having babies, I'm just convinced that the government's going to keep allowing immigrants to come in because somebody has to pay for our retired folks' Social Security. So until you yahoos start having sex and multiplying, this is just the way it's probably gonna be. Anna Lacey 7007 says, I call bullshit. Since when are service dogs carried around? ? Tired of all the people that lie about their pets. I'm telling you, if you go to Target on any given weekend, you'll see people with the craziest service animals in the world. Service pets should be literally saved for people that if they don't have that pet, they would literally go out of their mind. Give those people a service pet. There should be some sort of paperwork that you have to carry with you. It shouldn't just be, oh, he's my service pet, okay, enjoy. Because people lie all the time. Jinx You to Heaven says, illegals with a driver's license, the DMV needs to be investigated. Something is happening in this country where some way, somehow these illegals are finding out about these places that look the other way, give them driver's license, and then Uber somehow gives this person a job. Whatever happened to E-Verify? Every single place that we worked over the last 10 years has wanted to make sure that we have a proper license and a Social Security number, and they all have that E-Verify placard in the break room, right? Talking about how they take the extra steps to make sure that we're all legal to work in the US. And then you hear about this shit. How about this, Uber? You're gonna get sued like crazy because this guy has the money to get it done. And by the way, it goes back to what I said the other day. Does this guy deserve millions of dollars? No, here's 400,000. Be about your day. You got knocked out. Yes, it's going to end up looking bad on Uber. Yes, we could charge Uber hundreds of millions of dollars. But again, the guy got knocked out. Give him 400 or 500 grand. Let's call it a day. Green Luxy says the illegal Uber driver should have just canceled the ride. It was that easy. So at the very end, before the fight, Brian Colbert, the CEO, actually said, okay, let's go ahead and just cancel the ride. I'll get another ride then. That's when the Russian got pissed, headbutted him, and then went on his way. So yeah, even canceling the ride probably is what pushed the Russian over the edge. And by the way, I'm not on the Russian side here. That service dog could be a legit service dog, but he could be lying. Raptor X 9592 says Uber deactivates you if you refuse a service animal, even if it is not really a service animal. As long as the passenger says it's a service animal, you must take them, right? So we have this bullshit honor system that half the people probably lie about. Again, if you really need a service animal, I understand. You should have one. But you should have one because you really need it. Does this CEO that probably gets in arguments all the time, does he really need it? Was it even truthful? Who knows? We'll probably never find out. Wouldn't that be crazy if maybe one of his ex-partners ends up coming out of the background and ends up saying, he's a liar. This is just a puppy that he bought for his girlfriend. How much you want to bet it was just a puppy he bought and he couldn't accept that the guy said no? Jesse, whose side are you on? Well, in life, we end up finding out there's two sides to every coin. I bet the guy probably was rude when he was talking to the Russian, and the Russian was obviously violent, right? Because he has a violent history. God, I wonder what bad stuff this guy did in Russia that made him want to get out of the country. Just goes to show you who we're bringing in this country. Anyway, I don't know whose side I'm on. I don't like the idea of the guy getting knocked out, but I don't like the idea of anybody suing for tens of millions of dollars just because you got knocked out. Anyway, with that being said, have a plan if anybody ever comes and gets in your face. That way, if they ever do, hopefully you can keep your wits about yourself. And with that being said, have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow.